What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? It's Daniel, and welcome back to our video. Today, I'll be taking an updated look at the 2025 NASCAR Xfinity Series driver lineup. I'm going to go through all the full-time entries and the part-time entries that have been confirmed for 2025. So anyways, let's go ahead and just jump straight into it. We're going to start by talking about the double zero car for the Haas factory team. This will be driven by Sheldon Creed, who joins the team on a full-time basis in 2025 after being with Joe Gibbs Racing in 2024. Sheldon Creed is still looking for his first career NASCAR Xfinity Series win, but he'll have Jonathan Toney as a crew chief in 2025. He'll also look to win his first ever NASCAR Xfinity Series title in 2025 with the Haas factory team. Up next, how about the one car for Junior Motorsports? This will be driven by Carson Quaffle, who joins the team full-time in 2025. Carson Quaffle was very impressive in his select starts in 2024 as he contended for a couple victories in the first few starts of his Xfinity Series career and showed a lot of promise and a lot of potential. I think he's going to surprise a lot of people in 2025 as I think he will be a championship threat in Series contender and also has a really great opportunity to win the Rookie of the Year honors in the 2025 season. Up next, how about the two car for Richard Childress Racing? This will once again be driven by Jesse Love. Jesse Love had a very strong season in 2024 as he picked up the Rookie of the Year honors, beating Shane Van Gisbergen at the end of the day, and also was able to win at Talladega early in the season. I think he's got an opportunity to pick up multiple victories in 2025, and I think there's a great chance and opportunity that he could definitely be a championship contender in the 2025 year and season. Up next, how about the four car for Alpha Prime Racing? This will be driven by Parker Resshoff, who joins the team after being last year with Jordan Anderson Racing. Parker Resshoff also getting a ton of support from ECR Engines, which I think will help this program in a pretty big way in 2025. Parker is one of the more underrated drivers in the NASCAR Xfinity Series field. I think he'll be a pretty big threat to at least contend for a top 20 in the NASCAR Xfinity Series points in 2025. Up next, how about the five car for Our Motorsports? This will be driven by Chris Wright, who replaces Anthony Alfredo at the team this year. Chris Wright had a decent year in ARCA in 2024 with Venturini Motorsports, though he did make a lot of mistakes on the racetrack. Realistically, I think that Chris Wright is going to struggle throughout 2025. I think that Chris will not perform Anthony Alfredo's stats in 2024. I think there'll be some struggles for Chris in 2025. Up next, how about the 07 car for SS Greenlight Racing? This car will run full-time in the 2025 season, being split by Nick Lights, Patrick Emmerling, and Alex Abay. Patrick Emmerling is going to get majority starts in this car. He'll run at Daytona. Nick Lights is going to run at Atlanta, and we know that Patrick will run at Las Vegas Motor Speedway, with Alex Abay expected to run majority of the road courses in the 2025 year and season. Up next, up the 7 car for Junior Motorsports. This will once again be driven by Justin Allgaier. Justin Allgaier is coming off of winning his first ever NASCAR Xfinity Series championship in 2024. He will be a championship threat in Series contender for the title in 2025, and I think the 7 team is only going to get better in the 2025 season. I expect this team to be really strong, continue the strong speed they've had for a long time. It wouldn't surprise me or shock me if Justin Allgaier is able to win his second championship in a row this upcoming season. Up next, how about the A car for Junior Motorsports? This will once again be driven by Sammy Smith. Sammy Smith will have the iconic number 8 font once again also in 2025. Sammy Smith had a little bit of a disappointing season in 2025, and coming into the year, he is the weakest link of all 4 Junior Motorsports cars that will be full-time this year. But I do think that Sammy Smith will have a decent chance and opportunity to be competitive this year in season, as I think there is a chance and opportunity for him to maybe be a contender to pick up some wins and victories throughout the 2025 NASCAR Xfinity season. Up next, how about the 9 car for Junior Motorsports? This will be a part-time entry in 2025. Shane Van Gisbergen is going to make 4 starts in this car in 2025, all on road courses, while Ross Chastain will run 5 races in this car in 2025. I would also not rule out the possibility of Connor Hall, who will be full-time with Junior Motorsports in the late models this year, and I also have heard Roger Kroof may make some starts in this car in 2025. I do think this car will have chances to go to victory lane later this year. Up next, up the 10 car for Kaulig Racing. This will be driven by Daniel Dye, who joins the team full-time in 2025. Daniel Dye ran pretty solidly in the Craftsman Truck Series last year, and I do think that he'll have a decent chance to maybe make the playoffs this year. I do think it's going to be a tall order with Kaulig Racing struggling in 2024. He looks to run very competitively in the 2025 season as he looks to win and maybe be a contender in 2025. Up next up, the 11 car for Kaulig Racing. This will once again be driven by Josh Williams. Josh Williams is coming off of having a very disappointing season in 2024, and I think for this year, it is a make or break year for Josh Williams. He really needs to step it up to the plate and run a lot more consistently. Otherwise, there's a very good chance and opportunity that he will not be back with this program in 2026. We'll see what he can do this year, and we'll see if Josh Williams can show a lot of improvement with the Kaulig Racing organization this year. Up next up with the 14 car for SS Greenlight Racing. This will be driven by Garrett Smithley, who will be the team on a full-time basis in 2025 with a partnership from BKR. Garrett Smithley, I think, will have some decent runs with this program, but realistically, I think it's going to be a little bit of struggle for the number 14 organization in the 2025 year in Xfinity Series. Up next up, the 16 car for Kaulig Racing. This will be driven by Christian Eckes, who joins the team on a full-time basis and replaces AJ Allmendinger, who goes back up to the NASCAR Cup Series. Christian Eckes, I think, will be someone to watch out for throughout 2025, as I do think the number 16 team is going to show a lot of improvement in performance from the prior year as Kaulig looks to get a lot better. I also think that Christian Eckes, more than less, will end up being the best driver at this program and team, and I think Christian Eckes will definitely make the playoffs most likely in the NASCAR Xfinity Series later this year. Up next up, the 17 car for Hendrick Motorsports. Yes, it was confirmed a week or so ago that Hendrick Motorsports will be back in the NASCAR Xfinity Series in 2025. Corey Day has been confirmed to make starts with this program, most likely a ton of them this year, and it's also expected that Kyle Larson, Chase Elliott, William Byron, Alex Bowman will all more than likely drive this car as well for 2025, as that's what Hendrick has done pretty much every single year since they started bringing the program back. It will be back, though, in 2025. Up next up, the 18 car for Joe Gibbs Racing. This will be driven by William Swalch, who takes over the number 18 car from Sheldon Creed. William Swalch is someone that I'm not as high on as other drivers going into this season. I think he does have a lot of potential, there's no denying that, but I just don't see William Swalch coming into this year and being a major threat in serious contender. I think it's going to take some time for this program to get up. He's going to have some decent work this year, and we'll see what he can do with Joe Gibbs Racing in 2025 as a full-time driver in the NASCAR Xfinity Series. Up next up at the 19 car for Joe Gibbs Racing. This will be the all-star entry for the team in 2025. It has been confirmed that Justin Bonsignor will make at least 5 starts with this program in 2025, and it was confirmed earlier this week that Chase Briscoe will run the NASCAR Xfinity Series race at Charlotte Motor Speedway with Lance as the sponsor. I would also expect that Mark Truex Jr., Eric Almirola, and maybe Ryan Truex as well, and Denny Hamlin to get behind the wheel of this car, and I also think that Ty Gibbs and Chris Bell are very likely to get behind the wheel, but I don't expect Bubba Wallace to make any starts with this team later this year. Up next up, the 20 car for Joe Gibbs Racing. This will be driven by Brandon Jones, who returns to the organization in 2025 after being at Junior Motorsports the last couple of seasons. Brandon Jones is going back to familiar territory, and I think he will have a little bit of a resurgence with this program in 2025, as I think there's a good opportunity for him to maybe win a race later this year, and I think that there will be at least some sort of growth with this program this year. Though he's not going to win as many races that 20 car did with guys like Eric Almirola and Chris Bell did, but I do think that Brandon Jones will show some improvement, and he brings back the sponsorship of Menards to the program in 2025. Up next up with the 21 car for Richard Childress Racing. This will once again be driven by Austin Hill. Austin Hill is coming off of having a really strong season in 2024 as he picked up 4 victories and made the championship 4. However, he will have a new crew chief this year as Chad Haney will replace Andy Street, who goes up to the NASCAR Cup Series with the number 33 car and also will be the crew chief for the number 33 NASCAR Xfinity Series car. That's something that may hurt Austin Hill in the long run for 2025, but I do think Austin Hill will have some good pace and speed later this year, as I think we know he's going to be strong at the super speedways, and I do think Austin Hill will definitely be a championship threat and probably a championship contender in 2025 with this team. Up next up with the 24 car for Sam Hunt Racing. It was confirmed earlier this week that Sam Hunt will run the 24 car for most of the year in 2025. Ryan Truex is going to drive the car at Daytona International Speedway. I would also expect that Corey Heim will make some select starts in the NASCAR Xfinity Series with this program, probably more than he made in 2024, as Corey does have ambitions to move up full-time to the NASCAR Cup Series with the team of 2311 Racing. We'll see this team back on the track in 2025. Up next, up with the 25 car for AM Racing. This will be driven by Harrison Burton, who goes to the re-number 25 after last year it was the number 15 for Haley Deegan, who lost a ride halfway through the year. Harrison Burton last year picked up the win in the NASCAR Cup Series, and he's looking to have a little bit of a turnaround with this program and see if this team can show some improvement in the 2025 season. I think he does have potential to really get this program back up to speed and back up to par. We'll see what he can do and see if this maybe down the road can lead him to maybe moving back up to the NASCAR Cup Series in the next couple years and couple seasons. Up next, I have a 26 car for Sam Hunt Racing. This will be driven by Dean Thompson, who joins his team on a full-time basis in 2025. Dean Thompson is bringing sponsorship and funding to the table. He unfortunately has struggled in the Craftsman Truck Series over the course of the last couple years. I'm just not sure if Dean Thompson is going to run really strong later this year. I'll see what he can do, and we'll see what he can do with the organization this season as they look to show some improvement. They took a step backwards in 2024. I'm not sure if Dean Thompson is going to be the guy that can really take this team up to the next level this upcoming season. Up next, up with the 27 car for Jordan Anderson Racing. This will once again be driven by Jeb Burton. Now, Jeb Burton in 2024 had a disastrous season. He struggled compared to 2023, where in 2023 they almost made the playoffs legitimately on speed and were able to still make the playoffs regardless. Jeb Burton is looking for a turnaround in 2025, and I think there's a good chance and opportunity that he could definitely turn it around later this year. We'll see what he can do with the program in 2025 once again. I think it was the right decision to bring him back to the program, and we do think he'll probably also make some Cup Series starts later this year. Up next, how about the 28 car for RSS Racing? This will once again be driven by Kyle Sieg. Kyle Sieg had a very disappointing season in 2024, especially considering his brother Ryan ran a lot better and was a legitimate playoff contender. I do think that Kyle Sieg, especially with RSS downsizing their program from a 4-car team down to 2 full-time cars this year, I think it may end up helping Kyle Sieg in a pretty big way. So we'll see what the 2018 can do later this year, and we'll see if Kyle Sieg can show some improvement and maybe show some growth with this program in the 2025 year and season with this team. Up next, how about the 29 car for RSS Racing? This will only be a part-time entry in 2025, and they'll be looking for people to bring sponsorship and funding to the table. At this point, maybe some people from the front row group over there, like a Zane Smith, maybe a Todd Gillen, could get behind the wheel of this car. If Haley Deegan got the money, she could get behind the wheel. She said that if there's an opportunity for Xfinity ride with millions of dollars, she could do it. So we'll see who they get behind the wheel, but the 29 car definitely will be back in the NASCAR Xfinity Series, at least part-time, in 2025. Up next, up the 30 car for Rhett Jones Racing. While nothing's been formally announced for Rhett Jones Racing for the season, I do expect that this team will be back in the Xfinity Series in 2025. I think Noah Grace will make a few starts in this program this year. I would not rule out the possibility of like a Cletus McFarland in some crazy way getting the opportunity to drive in the NASCAR Xfinity Series with this program, but I think they will likely also have an alliance with the Haas Factory team in 2025. Up next, up at the 31 car for Jordan Anderson Racing. This will be driven by Blaine Perkins, who replaces Parker Russell, who of course goes over to Alpha Prime Racing this year. Blaine Perkins, I'm not sure how he is going to perform. He struggled last year with RSS Racing, was the worst driver who ended up running the full season last year, and I just don't know if Blaine Perkins can come into this year and be a major threat and major factor. We'll see what he can do in 2025. I think Blaine is a talented driver, but he had a really bad year and a pretty disastrous season with this program in 2024. Up next, how about the 32 car for Jordan Anderson Racing? This car is expected to run most, if not all, races in 2025. Jordan Anderson is going to run all the Super Speedway program races in this car this year. And we also know Austin Green is going to run around 15 to 16 NASCAR Xfinity Series races with this team in 2025. All the road course races and all the short track races this year. We'll see if Jordan Anderson Racing and 32 team can perform. I think Austin Green does have some promise, and I think he definitely has a little bit of potential to run really good, at least on the road courses this season. Up next, how about the 33 car for Richard Childress Racing? Yes, RCR is going to run a third car in 2025, and Casey Kane was already confirmed to be racing at Rockingham in April during Easter weekend. We also think there's a chance that Kyle Busch and Austin Dillon, who drive in the Cup Series for the team, may end up driving in this program in 2025, but we are expecting, like I said, the 33 car to officially make a comeback in the Xfinity Series this year with multiple drivers behind the wheel. Up next, up at the 35 car for Joey Gase Motorsports. Gray Van Alst is going to drive this car for 19 races in 2025, and we know Baltazar Leguizamon will be attempting to become the first Argentinian driver to make a start in NASCAR's top 3 divisions at Circuit of the Americas at race number 3. I think Gray getting an opportunity to be with this team a lot of the year makes a lot of sense because he is bringing sponsorship and funding to the table to be with the program. We'll see how the 35 team can perform in 2025. Up next up with the 39 car for RSS Racing. This will once again be driven by Ryan Sieg. Ryan Sieg in 2024 had a very solid season and showed a lot of promise and a ton of potential. And I think that Ryan Sieg will be a playoff contender this year, as I think that this team, especially with the speed they showed at the test most recently, I think Ryan Sieg does have a lot of potential to be a major threat and contender. We'll see what he can do on a lot of these tracks throughout the 2025 season and see if he can make the playoffs this year in 2025. Up next up with the 41 car for the Haas factory team. This is a renumbered 98 team going into this year, and Sam Mayer will take over the car from Riley Hurst, who goes up the cup with 2311 Racing. Sam Mayer last year picked up 3 victories, but also had 8 or 9 DNS, so he's looking to be a lot more consistent in the 2025 year. I think he does have a lot of potential to have a really good year, but we need to see what he can do. He'll have Jason Trinchera as a crew chief this year. We'll see if Sam Mayer can be a big threat to be a championship contender this year. We'll see if he can finally win that championship, and maybe it could lead to him moving back up to the NASCAR Cup Series in the upcoming seasons. Up next up with the 42 car for Young's Motorsports. This will be driven by Anthony Alfredo, who replaces Leland Honeyman Jr. this season. This team is expected to have a much tighter alliance with the RCR and ECR engine group over there, and I think this team could show some improvement, as I think this team had some decent performances last season. Plus, Anthony Alfredo, I think, is a better driver than Leland Honeyman Jr. personally, so I do think that Anthony is going to have the opportunity to be really competitive with this team, and we'll see what it can do with the Young's Motorsports organization and team in the 2025 NASCAR Xfinity season. Up next up with the 44 car for Alpha Prime Racing. This will once again be driven by Brennan Poole. Brennan Poole was kind of one of the stand-up performers in 2025, in all honesty, in 24. He was very consistent throughout the year, showed a lot of speed, was up front at certain times, had, I think, the first 5 or 6 races he finished inside the top 20, and was 15th or 16th in the points, which was extremely impressive for the Alpha Prime Racing equipment. I think that Brennan Poole will be very, very good this year, one to watch out for throughout 2025, and I think he could be a sleeper for the playoffs this year as the team looks to get better. Up next up with the 45 car for Alpha Prime Racing. This will be a full-time car in 2025. Cesar Baccarella is going to drive this car at Daytona. Brad Perez is going to make at least 4 NASCAR Xfinity Series starts with this team. Mason Massey has 11 starts playing with this program this year. And Vicente Salos will make around 4 to 5 NASCAR Xfinity Series starts with this program, with more drivers probably to be announced down the road, as this car will go full-time. Unlike last year, it will be a full-time car in 2025. Up next up with the 48 car for Big Machine Racing. This will be driven by Nick Sanchez, who replaces Parker Clearman, who will only run part-time in the Craftsman Truck Series this year as Parker's retired from full-time racing. Nick Sanchez last year was super, super competitive. He was very, very fast throughout the year and showed a lot of promise in the Truck Series. And the last time he drove for Big Machine Racing, he was super, super competitive. I think that Nick Sanchez will be one to watch out for throughout the year, as I think he will have a great chance and a strong opportunity to make the playoffs and be a major championship contender in 2025. Up next up with the 50 car for Pardis Racing. This will be driven by Preston Pardis, who will make around 4 to 5 NASCAR Xfinity Series starts for his own organization. Preston Pardis is a very underrated road course racer, and I think he will have chances to be competitive, as ECR is going to be helping this program in a pretty big way in 2025. I look for this team to show some potential and show a lot of promise throughout the year, as I do think that Preston Pardis, at least at the road courses, will be very much a driver to keep your eyes out on, at least at the road courses later this year and season. Up next up with the 51 car for Jeremy Clements Racing. This will once again be driven by Jeremy Clements. Jeremy Clements last year had a very disappointing season. They just weren't up to speed and up to par, and the cars just never had the potential to really be competitive throughout the season. I think that Jeremy Clements will have a little bit of an improvement of the year, but I also worry about this team's long-term plans. Though they have picked up some sponsorship from Harrison's, which is really good, and it will be some money that they can use to get their cars a lot better. We'll see what Jeremy Clements can do with this organization once again in 2025. Up next, how about the 53 car for Joey Gase Motorsports? This will be another full-time entry in 2025, and the only driver confirmed currently at the moment is Mason Maggio, who's got 6 or 7 starts scheduled with this team later this year. Mason, very talented young driver. We also think he'll run part-time for Floridian Motorsports in the Craftsman Truck Series this year. And I do think that Mason Maggio will have the opportunity to maybe show some stuff because he's someone that can get the best out of equipment, especially for someone who is certainly a younger driver. We'll see what Mason Maggio can do with the number 53 team in the 2025 year. Up next, how about the 54 car for Joe Gibbs Racing? This will be driven by Taylor Gray, who replaces Chandler Smith in this car for 2025, and it's been renumbered to the number 54. Jason Ratcliffe is going to be the crew chief on this car for the season, and Ty Gibbs is a part owner of this car. Taylor Gray last year had some really strong performances in the Craftsman Truck Series with Tricon, and he also made select starts in the Xfinity Series last year in the 19 and the number 20. I do think that Taylor Gray could be a playoff contender, and I think that the number 54 team will show some pretty good speed in the 2025 year and season. Up next, how about the 66 car for NBM Motorsports? This will only be a part-time entry in 2025. Tyler Tomasi has 2 starts scheduled for the program currently at the moment, and Chad Fincham will make a one-off start with the team probably at Bristol later this year. They will only run around 5 to 6 races this year because they didn't have the funding and sponsorship for David Starr. We don't know what his future NASCAR is currently at the moment, but we will see at least a 66 car on the track on a part-time stint in 2025. Up next, how about the 70 car for Cope Racing Family? This will be a new team joining the NASCAR Xfinity Series in 2025, and Leland Honeyman Jr. and Thomas Annunziata are going to split the seat. Leland is going to drive 16 starts for the program, and Thomas is going to drive the other starts behind the wheel of the car. Thomas will run all the road courses this year, and he'll run some other short ovals throughout the season. I think his team does have some potential, and I think it's cool to see that Derek Cope is back in the sport, but not as a driver, but as an owner of a new team going into the 2025 year, as they will have an ECR alliance as well. Up next, how about a 71 car for DGM Racing? This will be the renumbered number 92 car for 2025, as Ryan Elson will go full-time with the team after being with Alpha Prime Racing the last couple of years. Ryan Elson will also have some veteran help on the box for him in 2025, which I think will help him throughout the season. I think Ryan Elson is someone who does show some promise on the track, but I'm just not sure if this team is really going to have the pace and speed to be super competitive in 2025, though I do think DGM is a team that can show some improvement, as he also is a replacement for Kyle Weatherman in this car in 2025. Up next, how about the 88 car for Junior Motorsports? This will be driven by Connor Zilch, who will go full-time in the NASCAR Xfinity Series with Junior Motorsports in 2025. Connor Zilch won on his NASCAR Xfinity Series debut at Watkins Glen last year, and in the 4 races he ran, he had 3 top 5 finishes. He is also going to make his NASCAR Cup Series debut at Circuit Americas in about a month from now. I expect Connor Zilch to be one of the favorites for the championship this year. This 88 team is going to be strong, plus he's going to have Marty Lindley as a crew chief, who is one of the best crew chiefs in the NASCAR Xfinity Series. He's got long-term ambitions to go up to the NASCAR Cup Series with Trackhouse Racing most likely. I think working with Junior Motorsports will help, as Trackhouse and Junior Motorsports have formed a pretty tight and close-knit relationship going into the 2025 season, and Connor is going to be strong this year. Up next, how about the 91 car for DGM Racing? This will be driven by Josh Bilicki, who will make a majority of starts in this car in 2025. Rita's Italian Ice is going to sponsor the car for 4 or 5 races this season, and Josh Bilicki is someone who is a very underrated driver, as last year driving the 19 car, he really was competitive in those few races he ran for Joe Gibbs Racing. I expect Josh Bilicki to show some promise with the DGM Racing organization like he's done the last couple of years, and I do think DGM made the smart decision to bring him back into the program in 2025. Up next, how about the 92 car for DGM Racing? DGM is going to have a 4th part-time entry in 2025, with CJ McLaughlin being the driver for the car at Daytona International Speedway, which doesn't make sense to me. I would think Kyle Weatherman will be a front runner to get behind the wheel of this car at some point this year. We don't know what Kyle Weatherman's future in the sport is currently at the moment, but God is disappointed to see he's not full-time for the year. But I think this team will have a shot to make the Daytona, but I'm not sure if they will, because I don't trust CJ McLaughlin behind the wheel of the car. He will drive this team, though, this year. And finally, let's talk about the 99 car for Viking Motorsports. Yes, Viking Motorsports will rebrand to Chevrolets for 2025 and will switch a number from 38 to the 99 this year. They have a tight alliance with ECR, and Matt DiBenedetto is going to be the driver. Last year, this team showed some promise at times. They took that 38 car last year, which was barely making races, and got that team inside the top 30 in owners' points at the end of the season. I do expect this team to be very competitive in 2025. I think they actually will show some speed, and I do think that Matt DiBenedetto will definitely be a borderline threat to make the playoffs in 2025 and be in that 15th to 20th range most of the season in the NASCAR Xfinity Series. So, that is going to be it for the 2025 NASCAR Xfinity Series driver lineup. I want to thank you guys for watching. Please subscribe to the channel, notifications on, so if I win a video, it does go live on my channel. Follow me on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram, and support me on Patreon as well. List description below that, and comment your thoughts below on today's episode. How excited are you for the NASCAR Xfinity Series season? Let me know it in the comments below. Later tonight on the channel, we'll have the review from the Cookout Clash at Bowman Gray Stadium. Then, of course, we will on Monday have 2 NASCAR news videos most likely dropping on the channel. Tuesday, if there's a lot of news that does break on Monday, we'll discuss a ton of news on Tuesday. Same thing goes for Wednesday. We've got content to people like Haley Deegan, Carl Edwards, Kurt Busch, Kyle Busch, Shane Van Gisbergen, Connor Zillis, Junior Motorsports, Bubba Walls as well, Chandler Smith, all that good stuff coming out on the channel. Rosh is saying too. We'll talk about all this stuff on the channel this week as well as we get closer to the start of the year kicking off, which it does kick off later this evening. So anyways, like I said, I want to thank you guys for watching today's episode, and I'll see you guys next time for more great, awesome NASCAR content and other motorsports content on the channel like this. Take care, everybody.